right there made me the greatest player of all time.
For
That's
so
what I
many
felt.
reasons.
I was super ecstatic to win one for Cleveland because of the 52-year drought. Like, I was ecstatic. Like, obviously, I showed that the first wave of emotion was when everyone saw me crying. Like, that was all for 52 years. Everything in sports was going on in Cleveland. And then after I stopped, I was like, that one right there made you the greatest player of all time.
You know what? It's one thing. We all sit at this table all the time and sing his praises. Yeah. I think LeBron is a great player. Yeah. I just think that's disrespectful, honestly, to Bill Russell. What did Bill Russell do? Won every time. He said, all right, fellas, you want to win? Come with me. We'll go on the floor. That's what this game's all about. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah.
I mean,
you know, and he was great on time, all levels, though, Kareem. The best in high school, the best in college, and the best in the pros.
That's what I'm saying. You know, Michael. I mean, there's just so many. Two of my good, Larry and Magic. I mean, just led teams and turned the league around. You don't need to say that about yourself. Let other people say that for you. I mean, I was kind of surprised because I had read about it, but that's the first time I had actually heard him say it. Made me the GOAT. I'm like, damn.
Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah, I was like, okay, you know, I love the kid. I think he's a great player. I think he's been great for the game. But let other people say that for you. To me, it's just disrespectful for a lot of people that came before you that were great players. And you said it to begin with, Chris. You can't compare eras and all that stuff. All these guys have been so great in their era. I just didn't like. I didn't like the way that sounded to me. Just didn't like it.
You know, and everybody knows I love LeBron, but I'm gonna call time out on this one because and I'll speak definitely to LeBron, or I'll say it to his face. But you never. There's a certain thing about greatness that demands that you have humility with greatness. Now, I've never heard, even though we argue about Michael Jordan being the greatest of all time or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar being the greatest of all time, LeBron James being the greatest of all time, we have those arguments in debate. I have never heard Michael Jordan say he's the greatest of all time. Yeah. Even though he may think that, even though Kareem may think that, right? You just don't come out and say that. Now, in this era, you know, maybe it's okay for people to come out and say that. All I know, if I was in the league right now and you talking about you the greatest of all time, dude, I'm getting ready to do you. I'm coming at you. Like, and you may be, but to say that is just totally disrespectful to me as one of your competitors, as one of your teammates, as someone in your generation right now. It's just, you don't come out and say that. So with greatness, there's a certain amount of humility that goes with it. Now, somebody will probably come back and say, well, Muhammad Ali said I'm the greatest, but that was a single man sport.
Yeah, individual sport.
That was an individual sport. Yeah. Tiger Woods can make the argument he's the greatest because it's single. Yeah. But when you saying, and by the way, Muhammad Ali was saying he the greatest because, you know, he was getting in the ring and he knocked you out.
Right.
You know? But, you know, to be able to take that stand and to take that position in this day and age in a team sport, you should have some humility that goes along.
In 2016, the NBA witnessed something nobody believed was possible as the Cleveland Cavaliers stormed back from a 3-1 deficit to take down the 73-9 Golden State Warriors. When the final buzzer sounded, LeBron James collapsed to the floor with tears pouring out, not just from the victory itself, but from the release of years of pressure, heartbreak, and the weight of an entire city that had waited generations for this moment. For Cleveland, a city that had gone 52 years without a championship, this title felt like a long overdue exhale. But the real shock came shortly after, when LeBron was asked what the victory meant and confidently declared that the win made him the greatest player of all time. A statement that sounded emotional in the moment, but quickly revealed itself as a self-declared crowning. LeBron did not wait for time, legacy, or the consensus of his peers. He placed the throne beneath himself, and it triggered immediate uproar across the basketball world, especially from legends like Isaiah Thomas, the fierce leader of the Bad Boy Pistons, who once stood directly between Michael Jordan and greatness. Isaiah made his point plainly, saying he never once heard Jordan or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar call themselves the greatest, because true icons never need to make that proclamation. The world crowns them naturally. That criticism cut deep and spotlighted a much larger divide about what greatness actually means, separating legends elevated by universal recognition from those who announce it themselves, and leaving behind the question that still fuels the debate today. Is greatness something earned through the voice of the world, or something claimed through your own? Because while Jordan never chased the GOAT label, it followed him everywhere he went. LeBron openly pursued it. And that single contrast reshaped the entire conversation around what it truly means to be the greatest. That thin, almost invisible line might be what ultimately decides the entire GOAT debate, because the truth is straightforward. LeBron James dominates the record books, holding the all-time scoring crown, ranking top 5 in assists, and carrying franchises for over 20 years with unmatched versatility, assembling a resume nobody can honestly dismiss. Yet statistics alone do not grant immortality. Aura does. And aura is precisely where Michael Jordan separates himself from every player who has ever touched a basketball. His presence alone shifted the atmosphere in any building he entered. Opponents felt the pressure tighten in their chest. Teammates locked in like soldiers preparing for battle. Fans leaned forward, sensing history in real time. Even the referees straightened up. Jordan's greatness was not just visible, it was felt. Vernon Maxwell once described preparing to face MJ not as normal rest, but as a full mental and physical lockdown, elevating your legs, calming your mind, and bracing for impact. Because stepping onto the floor against Jordan felt less like a basketball game and more like survival. And while LeBron overwhelms with skill, numbers, and longevity, the lingering question remains, did anyone ever feel compelled to call him Black Jesus? People respect LeBron and genuinely admire everything he has accomplished, but nobody ever spoke about him the way players once whispered about Michael Jordan, as if he was something beyond human, a presence so overwhelming that one moment of overconfidence could trigger a 40-point explosion before your team even understood what had gone wrong. That difference, respect versus genuine fear, is the very essence of aura, the invisible force that made Jordan's greatness feel sacred and inevitable, which is why he never needed to announce himself as the best. The world had practically carved his statue in stone before his final retirement. Because the road Jordan traveled was nothing short of warfare. He battled through the bruising Detroit Pistons, who knocked him to the floor through the late 80s, then dismantled the Los Angeles Lakers dynasty in 1991, overpowered the Portland Trail Blazers led by Clyde Drexler in 1992, outdueled league MVP Charles Barkley and the Phoenix Suns in 1993, and finally conquered the iconic combination of Karl Malone and John Stockton with the Utah Jazz in back-to-back finals appearances, all while navigating constant battles with the physical New York Knicks, the sharp-shooting Indiana Pacers led by Reggie Miller, and the rising Miami Heat. Jordan did not just defeat individual stars, he climbed over entire generations of future Hall of Famers, burying them one era at a time, which is why his aura still stands unmatched, and why those who played against him describe him not simply as a champion, but a myth you had to survive. People often argue that LeBron faced incredible opponents in his era, the powerhouse Golden State Warriors, the disciplined San Antonio Spurs, and the explosive Oklahoma Thunder. But the truth is, today's NBA protects its stars in ways the game of the past simply never did.
With hand-checking eliminated, touch fouls upgraded, and flagrant calls coming on contact that used to be considered completely routine. Meanwhile, Michael Jordan spent his prime getting clotheslined, shoved, and hammered every single night, yet still walked away with a flawless 6-0 finals record. And that perfect 6 is not just a statistic, it is the purest form of competitive dominance. 6 championships in 6 appearances with 6 finals MVPs. never needing a Game 7, never breaking under pressure, and never once shrinking under the harshest spotlight in basketball, the NBA Finals, where every possession becomes a trial and every mistake echoes forever. Jordan simply never made one. He showed up on the final stage, took control, and walked away with the trophy every single time. While LeBron James, despite all his brilliance, carries a finals resume marked by painful collapses, from the stunning upset against the Dallas Mavericks in 2011 to heartbreak against the San Antonio Spurs in 2014, to being overwhelmed by the Golden State Warriors across 3 separate runs. And while simply reaching the finals is itself a mark of greatness, Jordan turned that stage into his personal destiny, owning it with an undefeated aura and a killer instinct so fierce it earned him the nickname Black Jesus. Because Jordan did not just aim to beat opponents, he made it his mission to break their confidence entirely. He manufactured rivalries out of nothing, turning a rookie's polite compliment into a 40-point explosion the very next night, dunking on Dikembe Mutombo just to mock his famous finger wag, and verbally cutting into Muggsy Bogues so brutally it derailed a season-defining moment. And even his own teammates were not spared from the relentless fire that made him the most feared competitor the league has ever produced. In Chicago's practice sessions, Steve Kerr, Will Perdue, and Scottie Pippen all felt the unforgiving edge of Michael Jordan, who pushed teammates to their absolute breaking point, because in practice it was never a warm-up, it was a battlefield where only those tough enough to withstand his intensity deserved to stand beside him in June. And that contrast is exactly why people admire LeBron James, but fear Jordan. Because fear, raw, primal, respect-driven fear, is the rarest currency in sports, and Jordan controlled it effortlessly. Yet his dominance was never confined to the court, because he became far more than a basketball player. He transformed into an era-defining force, a cultural shift, a global phenomenon whose impact landed on the world with the weight and permanence of an earthquake. Before Michael Jordan arrived, the NBA was a strong but still largely regional league. Magic Johnson and Larry Bird had rescued it from near obscurity in the 80s, but it was Jordan who launched the sport into an entirely different stratosphere. Not merely as the face of Nike, but as the architect of sneaker culture itself. The man who made Air Jordan transcend basketball, turning advertising into pop culture milestones, regular season games into global spectacles, and athletes into worldwide icons. And even decades later, we call someone the Michael Jordan of their field to mean the undisputed best, while nobody ever calls anyone the LeBron of something, because Jordan's aura spilled far beyond the hardwood and became a universal symbol of greatness. And so while LeBron James absolutely earns every shred of respect for his astonishing career, legacy, and impact, that transcendent cultural gravity is the line where the comparison ultimately lands and where the debate continues to live. His longevity, historic records, and massive influence on and off the floor make LeBron one of the most accomplished players the sport has ever produced. Yet even with all of that greatness, he is still chasing a level of dominance that belongs to only one man. Because Michael Jordan did not just succeed, he redefined what greatness meant. He wasn't just a superstar, he was a force of nature who intimidated entire rosters before the ball even touched the court, inspired teammates through a fire that never stopped burning, and struck fear into opponents who felt his presence like a storm rolling in before it arrived. And beyond the hardwood, he reshaped the entire culture, turning his partnership with Nike into a global empire, transforming sneakers into status symbols, commercials into cultural moments, and every one of his games into worldwide events.
Even his 6 championships felt pre-written, as if fate itself bent in his direction. 6 finals appearances, 6 rings, 6 finals MVPs, and not a single Game 7 needed. Statues were being planned before he even retired. Legends around the league called him Black Jesus. Fans spoke his name as if it belonged to mythology. Rivals prepared for him like they were entering an actual battle. And that is why no matter how many scoring records LeBron shatters, no matter how long he plays, and no matter how loudly the debates rage online, he is still pursuing something untouchable, a ghost of greatness that cannot be measured by statistics or longevity alone. Because the GOAT conversation was never just about numbers. It was always about who embodied greatness in the purest, most undeniable, universally acknowledged form. And that title has never changed. It was, it is, and it will always be Michael.